Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday night Bible study of the Gadsden Church of Christ. Now, as you can see, we are not in our auditorium. Instead, we're worshiping virtually again. The reason for that is we're being very cautious of the COVID numbers in our area and also the physical well-being of our membership. It's extremely important as we go through a very uncertain time like this. Our elders have made the decision, and it hasn't been a decision made in haste or made too quickly, but it has been a decision of much consideration and much prayer to take a look at our services and go to an online format at this time. So when you come back and be with us Sunday at 9:30, we're going to have a period of worship. At 10:30, we're going to have our adult Bible class. We're going to continue that. And Sunday night at 5 o'clock, we're going to continue our adult Bible class. Now, on Wednesday nights, it's going to be 6:30 right here on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page, wherever you may be watching this video. If you are on our website, you can watch it here as well. But we thank you for being a part. This is a very unique time. 2020 is a year that many of us just want to be over. We want to see 2021 and get a start back to normalcy, to where we were before. And the fact of the matter is, we're not there yet. We're coming up on the holiday season where we may or may not get to visit with families based upon various social distancing guidelines or laws that may be in place in certain areas. But it's a time that we enjoy. It's a time where this holiday season can be a great joy to us. So over the next few weeks, we hope that you'll stick with us and we hope that you'll join us. Now, I will go ahead and tell you we're going to do some things different during our virtual services this time around than what we've done before. I'm not going to tell you those changes, but you're going to have to stick around, come and visit with us, and be able to see this. Now, once again, this was not done in haste. This was done for the betterment in the physical well-being of our members. We have had members that have come in contact with the COVID-19 virus, or they've come in contact with somebody who had the virus, and we want to be sure that everyone remains safe. And we're using this piece of technology known as the internet and webcams and computers and microphones and Facebook and YouTube and all of these really important things that have been given to us to spread the gospel and to maintain our fellowship and to maintain our unity. Our fellowship is a little bit different because we can't share in person. Well, we'll talk about that here in just a moment. I also want to encourage you to do a few things because I know virtual worship is something that we haven't grown up with. My generation did not grow up with virtual worship. Instead, what would happen when churches canceled, whether it was because of snow or floods, or you just couldn't make it to the building for whatever reason? I remember one time there was a trip that we took that we were several hours, 4 to 5 hours from a local congregation. So instead, we had to worship where we were at. Someone prepared a lesson. We took communion with us. We sang some songs, and we had our own worship service. Now, you may be doing that in your home as well, and I would encourage you to do that. But we have this avenue that we can share our worship time together. So, for our members at Gadsden, and even if you're watching from somewhere else, I want to give you some words of encouragement, maybe a little bit of advice if you'll take it. We'll just call it a suggestion. How about that? Go through your Saturday routine like you normally do. Getting ready for Sunday. Getting ready to worship God. And as you get ready to worship God, get up on Sunday morning just like you have in the past. Don't get up at 9:20 and just hope to make it to worship at 9:30. We talked about some of this on our Sunday evening class just this past week. You can go back on our YouTube page or even on our Facebook page and you'll be able to view that lesson. I would encourage you to see it. But one thing that's very unique is sometimes we get the idea of virtual church can very simply be something that's done pretty easy and we don't really have to focus that much because we're in the comfort of our own home. But I would encourage you to get up like you normally do on Sunday mornings. And as you get up, plan to log in a little bit early. And when you log in a little bit early, just let that live stream begin to take place. And as we begin our worship services at 9:30, sing along with us. As we have announcements, pay attention. As we go through various aspects of worship, whether it's prayer, follow along. Whether it's scripture reading, follow along with that as well. Whether it's a lesson, get out a sheet of paper and take some notes. In fact, this coming Sunday, we're going to have a link that you're going to be able to follow if you're a member of the Gadsden Church of Christ, or if you're not, we're going to have that link available on our Facebook page and also on our website. And what you'll be able to do is see a copy of the lesson. And you can download it, you can print it off, or you can simply just follow along. It's an option that you're going to be able to have. And as we take of communion, remember, communion is the Lord's Supper. It's a time that Jesus spent with his apostles before he left this earth. And he instituted that for us. That when we do this, we remember him. But we need to take in a manner that's pleasing with God. And we have to really examine ourselves to make sure that what we are doing is appropriate and what we are doing is found in truth. Now, if you're a member of the Gadsden congregation, I would encourage you to make some time either tomorrow, which is Thursday, or Friday, and come to our building from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock and get your communion sets. That way you can take those home with you. Those will be provided to you in a Ziploc bag. Now, if for some reason you can't make it during those periods of time, if you will let someone know, we will do our best in all that we can do to help you maintain communion sets in your home. If that's delivering to your home, dropping them off in your mailbox, that is fine as well. We will be glad to do that. But just let us know. But as you get up on a Sunday morning, prepare yourself for worship just like you normally would. Take worship seriously, even though it's in your home. It's pretty interesting. If you take away the internet and you take away webcams and you take away microphones and everything that we have going, would you still worship God? I hope that you would. Because remember, worship is us bowing down before God. Even when we look at the Hebrew words and we look at the Greek words, it's bowing down before him to kiss his hand, to showing God our reverence and our respect and our humbleness. The English word, or actually the Old English word for worship, comes from worth-ship. That means when you worship somebody, you're showing them how worthy that you are. That's why I believe it's important that we maintain a routine. We maintain a routine of reading our Bibles. And sometimes it can be difficult, and I'll admit, sometimes it's difficult for me. I'll get in a routine on a Sunday or even on a Wednesday, and all of a sudden, it's like time just went away. And I would encourage you, maybe set a reminder on your phone. Maybe set a note on your refrigerator, on the door to your house, or even on your TV remote, so that you can find that note and you can remember, hey, worship starts in just a little while. I would also encourage you to do something else. Don't just watch worship at a different time. Watch it at its normal time. Keep that routine, because you know there's going to be other people that are logging in together. And while we may not be able to see all the numbers behind the scenes, God knows. And God knows exactly what's going on in our life. And we need to make sure that we are putting him as a priority in our lives, even if we're not in an auditorium, even if we're just in an office. But we need to make sure that God is that priority in our life. Because we have a great hope. Our hope is not just that this virus will go away, but we have the hope of heaven. We have a place outside of this world, but we just can't quit. We can't quit our Christianity because we quit coming to a building. Because our Christianity is not contained in four walls of a building. Our Christianity is not contained in a Bible class that's found in the building. Our Christianity should be inside of each and every one of us. When we're baptized, we put on Christ. Galatians chapter 3 and verse 27. Paul says in the book of Galatians that Christ was living in him. So when we think about being a Christian, Christ lives in each and every one of us. Coming to a church building doesn't make you a Christian. It's what you do each and every day. And I would encourage you, don't quit. No matter what the circumstances are, don't quit. Keep going and keep pressing on. I'm reminded of a man who called me several years ago. I was at another congregation and he called and he asked me if I could come and visit him. He was in a hospital and his life was about to end. His body was shutting down, and he called and he talked to me about religion. And I went and visited him, and I sat in his hospital room, knowing that in a few short days, he wouldn't be there anymore. In fact, it was going to be kind of sad. But one of the things he told me is this. He said, I'm a Christian, but I've been unfaithful. I've strayed away from the church, and I shouldn't have done that. He said, but you know what happened? He said, my children no longer go to church. And he said, will you talk to them? Will you talk to them? He said, they didn't see the example in me. Would you talk to them? So the next day, I met with him back in his hospital room as he laid in his hospital bed, unable to move. His family came in and we decided to talk. And he told them, he said, you need to get to church. I haven't been the example for you. And now I'm looking at the end of my life, and I wish I would have. I wish I would have gone to church. I wish I would have taken every available opportunity, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry that I've failed you. That was a hard conversation to have. That was a very, very difficult conversation. Over the next 4 days, he pleaded with his family to start going to church, to start being a part of it. The sad part is, when I left that congregation and moved to somewhere else, we all lost touch. But they weren't going. Their dad had pleaded with them to take every available opportunity to stay faithful, every available opportunity to read the Bible, every available opportunity to worship God. But instead, as far as I know, they let those pass by. I think of his words often. And I wonder, in a time like this, in a very uncertain time when we are not in our building, is there something that we can do? How can we reach out to other people? But let me first of all tell you this. Don't quit. Don't give up. Just because you're not in this building, don't stop reading your Bible. Don't start attending services. Don't stop, attending services. Don't stop partaking of the Lord's Supper. Don't stop communicating with your brothers and sisters. We have to continue. In fact, I want you to remember this verse, if you can, just for a moment. The verse is found in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 6. Now, Galatians talks about bearing one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. But it also says, one who is taught the word must share in all good things with the one who teaches. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 6. It talks about sharing things together. And I would ask you this question. What are you sharing? You see, even in a virtual experience, even in a virtual worship, there are things that we can share with one another. We share all types of things on Facebook. We share pictures of our kids, pictures of our cats, pictures of our food, crazy news articles. We share just about everything. But what are you sharing right now? One of the easiest things that you could do right now is, if you are on Facebook, is you can click share, and you can share this video with somebody else and invite them to be part of worship. Just what would you think if you shared something and somebody else shared it and somebody else shared it? All of a sudden, just one share could turn into many different opportunities to spread the gospel. There's always something that we can do, whether it's virtual or whether it's face-to-face. There's something that we could do. But what are you sharing today? I hope and pray that you are sharing the gospel of Christ. It's very simple. You can go to the link at the top of this page, or if you're on YouTube, you can click the share button as well, and you can share this with somebody around you. I'm not a numbers kind of guy, but I think it would be very interesting to see how many shares we could get of our worship online, of our Bible classes, and of some other things that we're going to put in mind. So that people can see these things and people will realize, hey, we're able to do this. Because we have to remember a second principle. And the second principle I want you to remember is from Luke chapter 16, verses 19 through verse 31. That principle is, what you sow, you will reap. If you remember the story of the rich man and Lazarus, the rich man had everything that he needed. But then there was poor Lazarus. Lazarus didn't have everything, and he just desired to eat from the crumbs that fell from the rich man's table. Just the crumbs. Not a bite, not a bowl, not a plate, just crumbs. That's all he really wanted. He desired that. But then Lazarus died, and the rich man died, and we know what happened. We know that there was a great gulf that was fixed between them. They couldn't pass that gulf from one side to the other, and Abraham was comforting Lazarus. It says that Lazarus was in Abraham's bosom. He was being comforted. But the rich man was in torment. The rich man was not a happy man. All of his riches didn't matter. You see, the Bible speaks a lot about what we sow, we're going to reap. What we have in our life, we're going to reap. It's because the Christian life is one of actions. It's worshiping God, whether virtual or whether in person. It's sharing a message. It's being kind to one another. It's treating each other like we would want to be treated. There's something to be said about a Christian, because Peter says they're a peculiar people. They're just a little bit different because their hope is so much different. Their hope is one that they can continue every day, I believe, with a smile on your face. Even if you're a little upset, if you're discouraged or you're sad, you still realize that there is a greater hope that we're going to have. So first of all, remember, we can still share. We can still share in our fellowship because we have our fellowship in Christ. And whatever we sow, we're going to reap. So we need to be sure that our actions are those that we can do every single day, but they're going to bring glory to God. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 16. Now, what about number 3? Well, here's number 3. Don't grow weary. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 58 says, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain. Hebrews chapter 12, a verse that I've mentioned often lately, and that is that we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. Let us run the race that's set before us with endurance, laying aside the weight and the sin that so easily clings to us. Don't grow weary. Remember, you're going to reap, but don't give up. Don't give up. We've got a great race ahead of us. Some of us may be in the final laps of that race. Some of us are midway through. Others may be just beginning. But whatever is the case, don't give up. Hebrews chapter 11 is Faith's Hall of Fame. You've got an entire group of people surrounding you in the stands, cheering you on, encouraging you to go through it. You can make it through the battles. You can make it through the hard times. You can make it through the uncertain times. You have this ability, but just don't give up. That's the importance of sharing with one another, which is what we talked about in point number 1. When you share with one another, you pick up one another. Don't just like a status on Facebook, but send them a message. Tell them that you've missed them. Tell them that you can't wait to see them again. Encourage them. Because remember, what we sow in our actions is what we're going to reap. So don't give up. You can do this, and I'm sure that you know that you can. Well, what about number 4? Number 4 is a reminder. Remember, we're going to reap. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, Paul says that he planted and Apollos watered and God gave the increase. I believe that Paul saw every person as an opportunity. He saw every occasion as an opportunity. Even when he was shipwrecked, it was an opportunity. Even when he was appealing to Caesar, he knew that he had the opportunity to take the gospel of Christ to the highest place on this earth, to the government that was ruling the world. He just had to make that appeal. But Paul doesn't say that he converted them. Paul doesn't say Apollos converted them. Paul simply says, I planted, Apollos watered, and God gave the increase. God is willing to do that for you. God is willing to help you out in your life. He just asks you to give a little bit of actions. If you're going to go out in your field, in your garden in the springtime, and you're going to plant some stuff in there, you're going to see something. You're going to see something pretty interesting. You're going to plant a seed, and that seed's going to start to grow. And as that seed starts to grow, good things start to happen. You know, Paul says something in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. What Paul says is this. He says, I've fought the good fight. I've ran the race. I've finished the course. There is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day, but not only to me, but to all those who have loved his appearing. You see, that's us. That's us. We're going to reap. We're going to have great benefits because we've done something. Because we've shared a message. We've shared something with each other. We've strengthened each other. We understand that what we're sowing, we're going to reap. We understand that we should not grow weary. We understand that we're going to reap some great benefits. And finally, number 5, go do good. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 15 says, always pursue what is good, both for yourselves and for all. Pretty simple words, right? Always pursue the good. Paul says that again in Philippians chapter 4 and verse 8 with a little bit different twist. He says that we need to look at the things that are good, that are excellent, that are upright, that are holy, and we need to meditate on those things. We need to think about those. Just imagine, even though we're not meeting, if we went about doing good, what change would that make? What change would that make not only in our life, but in the lives of those individuals around us? I encourage you tonight, don't be discouraged, but instead be encouraged. We have a responsibility, but we have a great opportunity. The church has left the building, And now we're in our homes. We're in our places of work. We may even be traveling. But everywhere we go, we can let our light shine in the midst of a dark world so that they can see Jesus. And if they see Jesus, then they have the opportunity as well to go to the same place that we want to go. And that place is heaven. Thanks for being here tonight. Let's sing another song, then we'll come back here in a few moments. Thank you.